So anyways, what were you saying again?
I really don't understand people who work a 9 to 5 job and say yes to everything their employer is saying, even though it's not in your contract.
Wage cooks.
Pretty much. Like, they're not getting paid for the extra work they're doing. It is, like I said, not in their contract, so they don't have to do it. And if an employer threatens you with being fired, the legal system exists, doesn't it?
Yep.
So I really don't understand the mentality of a person who grinds on work, expecting that your employer, your boss,
eventually
your
it's gonna pay off.
Yeah.
If I push this boulder up the hill long enough, eventually it's gonna pay off.
But what they don't notice is that the more you say yes to them, the more they understand that they can exploit you even further without giving you any reward except for maybe, hey, I'm gonna raise your salary but by like 3%. So I really do not understand people who go to work, they literally lose their mental health over that stuff.
And physical. More often
Yeah.
than not.
And they still don't have a problem with the way they are treated. We live in a world today where it's much easier to find a job than it was in the past, especially in our region. Because, let's be honest, usually our parents...
It's much easier to find a job, but it's a lot more difficult to get accepted.
I'm not sure if I agree with it, but still, in the past, you start working at 18 or 22 if you go to university, and you retire at 64 or even younger in the past. At the same firm, at the same company, at the same factory, and you never change your job, but at least you were happy with it, because they would never put work on you. Well, they would sometimes, but not every single day. But today, you have so many opportunities of working for the same wage. It doesn't have to be the same field, but you can still work for the same wage, sometimes even more, most often than not. But you still choose to sit in the same place, and you allow yourself to be mistreated, you allow yourself to be abused, and you know that it's not worth it, but you're still never gonna say no. Like, I'm gonna use my example, where I worked for 3 whole days, and then I simply quit, because they told me how they treat their workers, some things that weren't mentioned at first.
Yeah.
But I knew that I could get another job, because today's market is always looking for workers. I really don't understand how, because it's not only a personal problem. If you go through that, you're gonna have anger issues that...
Which are going to become someone else's problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to me, it's sad that if you have a family, it's not only you who's suffering, it's your children too.
Yeah.
Because every single person has to have an outlet. Most people don't know how to deal with their emotions, so they lash out for the minor things on someone else.
And that's like the worst thing that happen. The best case scenario is you're gonna be negligent.
Yeah.
Which is just as worse.
Yeah.
Like, sure, it might be better than, beating your children or abusing your family in general, but being negligent is just a bad thing. It just develops other negative traits later on.
I mean, I really am happy that the youth developed the quiet quitting culture.
Yeah.
Which is literally the best way to say fuck you to your employer. And I really don't understand why most employers are complaining nowadays how they can't find decent employees. Well, maybe you can't find decent employees because you're mistreating your employees. When you go to an interview, especially in smaller countries, you're gonna know someone who works there or who worked there. Most of the time, they're gonna tell you how it is. You need to be the most self-destructive person to agree to work in a hostile, aggressive environment.
Just
Yeah, I
environment.
forgot the word.
Yeah.
But still, if you do agree to work there, you're not doing anything to change it.
Yeah. Like you can't do, like, especially if you just come into a company, you don't have the power, you don't have the position to change anything. And even if you do, how long will that change last? No, but as I was saying, the whole marketplace nowadays is weird. And why I disagreed earlier. Yes, there's a lot more avenues to find work nowadays, but it's a lot more difficult to get in. Because before, as you mentioned, our parents, they just needed a certificate or a diploma. Okay, you're in. You want a job, you're in.
Or let's be
Well,
honest,
yeah.
one of your parents works there.
Yeah, fair. And now it's like, okay, you have to have this certificate, you have to have a full portfolio, you have to have this experience. And it just leads to a lot of needless bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And even as you said earlier, like people want better workers, but they don't want to give better conditions to said workers.
Yeah.
And there was there was a joke, like some bosses are like people who only date 18-year-olds. If it were legal, we know that you've been going lower. Like if it were legal for those bosses to pay less than the minimum wage, they'd do it. And that's just, it's tragicomic. It really is tragicomical. But
As a great man once said, yeah.
yeah, no. What was I had an idea and it slipped my mind.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, before that. You were talking about something. Oh yeah.
While you're thinking,
I
don't
don't
remember?
Nope. Okay, go on.
Yeah.
Eventually I'll remember it and
So-
I'll bring it up.
what I'm talking about is not people who don't have a choice, because there are people who don't have a choice who have to
Got
go
it.
there.
See, this always helps. The point
I
was-
don't blame those.
Yeah.
I don't blame those. I'm blaming the people who know that they can do better, who know how much they're worth, and they're still the yes man. They're still the bootlickers of the firm. Like that's the people I'm talking about.
That's a disproportionate amount, like a little amount of people though. The majority of people who get misused don't know jack shit about their situation.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably aware, you definitely know this. The viewers even know this. How little people read. And whenever they do read anything, it's usually something they find entertaining. But the things that you need to read are your country's labor laws.
Yep.
Do you know what's your right, what you're obliged to do, and how to, proceed for these kind of interactions, these kind of contracts and whatnot. But nobody likes to read that because it's boring, because it is entertaining. And that's the problem. Even if you know this, and you actually start an initiative to change something in your company, you won't be able to. Because the majority of people who don't read, they just think like, oh, that's just hopeful thinking, that's never going to happen. My brother in Christ, it isn't going to happen because you don't want to do anything about it. You're just content with being a slave. Like, it literally is the slave mentality. Like,
It is.
Oh yeah, the slave master gave me breadcrumbs today. If I do anything, if I ask for a turnip, I'm not even going to get the breadcrumbs anymore.
Maybe I'm gonna get the crust.
Yeah.
But I love how you mentioned the law. Sometimes you don't even need to read the law. You need to read the contract you're signing. And most people, when they get a new job, they're like, oh, you need my signature? Sure, why not?
No, really, most people check the pay because it's usually in
Yeah.
bold.
Yeah.
They read the things that are in bold.
But no one reads the fine print.
Yeah, exactly the fine print that you should read.
Like, you should, whenever you're getting a new job, when you're signing the contract, read what it says. Ask for a copy of that contract. And make sure it has the stamp. Because a lot of times, if you don't have the copy, they're gonna change the contract
yeah.
in the favor it goes for them.
Yep.
And to me, again, like you said, it is not a lot of people who have the chance. I'm mad at the people who do have the chance and are still bootlickers. The thing is, most countries have worker unions? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have worker unions where you can complain that, hey, I'm here hired as a pizza dough maker, but my boss is making me be a delivery man as well, and is not paying me extra for that. You have organizations you can go to, you can complain. And sometimes it's enough for one person to complain because there's inspections that you can call.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this like, oh,
Like,
for the first time
you
my
know what
boss...
happens? They don't call inspections whenever it's appropriate to do. They usually call it out of spite.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that so many times.
Yeah.
Whenever an inspection is called, it isn't because of general injustices or wrongdoings of the company, but because they erred someone. Like one specific person got wronged by them, and they got an inspection because of it.
I mean, I've heard a lot of stories about big companies literally going against the contract and no one does anything for years because no one has read their contract. So, this is going to be my ending remark. Please read your contract before you sign it.
Yeah.
And please ask for a copy with the stamp of the firm just in case they try to do anything shady.
Yeah.
I know legally they're not allowed to do, but everyone knows the better the lawyer,
Yeah.
you're gonna win.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. Do you have anything else to add?
No, that's about it.
Well, let us know what you think about this topic, and as always, we'll see you next time. Peace.